You're watching West Wednesday 642, Justice for Tyrone West and Justice for All Victims of Police Brutality. Tawanda, it's all you.
Thank you. Yes, so I'm really excited. So unfortunately we have to show you the awful video that does like traumatize me in a sense because it's victims, leading up to my brother, and it's just heartbreaking that my brother's no longer here. But we're gonna go to the video and we'll be right back. So hold on, and I can't wait to introduce my beautiful guest. Mic check.
Mic check.
Mic check.
Can't stop, won't stop, till killer cops are in cell blocks. Can't stop.
The following video portrays an incident of assault and violence at the hands of police. Viewer discretion is advised.
I suggest you back the fuck up. No,
This is Baltimore City Police Officer Jorge Bernardes Ruiz. In a video shot in 2016, Ruiz is seen with his knee on the back of an unknown man with a gun pointed at the man's head. His message was a clear one. Concerned onlookers, adhere to my dictates or else. Here, we can hear Ruiz saying to Baltimore residents,
I suggest you back the fuck up. No.
It is documented that Baltimore police officer Jorge Bernardes Ruiz is a repeat violent offender, even without access to all complaints against Ruiz, undisclosed by BPD Internal Affairs records. 6 cases involving Ruiz are known. This video will briefly highlight 6 total cases beginning in July of 2013. Case 1, Abdul Salam, July 1st, 2013. Here Salam is seen victoriously smiling in celebration after the jury found Ruiz and 2 other cops liable for brutality against him. However, because the trial was civil, not criminal, Ruiz was not fired and he did not go to jail.
Police profiled me. They followed me in the back of my house, harassing me. Police proceeded to violently and hostilely approach my van with me and my son in it. As I announced, this was my home, guns drawn. Once they reached my vehicle, they violently pulled me out, ramshacked my vehicle with my 3-year-old son strapped in his car seat, threw me against the gate, slammed me repeatedly. Picked me up by my feet, and while I'm upside down, they proceeded to drop me on my head, hog tie me, and immediately when I fell on my head, Ruiz, in a wrestling type of action, and kind of hit his knee against my neck. I was arrested. I had no idea what I was being arrested for. My son is scarred to this day. He remembers the incident as it happened yesterday. When he talks about it, he always refers to Daddy being on the floor with police yesterday.
Case 2, Darrell Harris, profiled, as seen in this video, July 17th, 2013.
Yeah, I said, what's wrong with it? Improper wear with it. There's no such thing as improper wear.
You gonna tell me my job, bro?
I know the law.
Are you gonna tell me the law?
I know the law.
You gonna tell me the law?
I know the law. What's the problem? You giving me a ticket? You need my license registration?
Yeah, let me get that.
The profile, y'all use the seatbelt as a reason. Profile.
Do me a favor, take out your keys.
Yeah, you can record for what? Nah. I don't feel safe right now. Do you want me to step out the car? Do you want me to step out the car? I'll step out the car. Call the police, man. What do you call a supervisor? I'm about to do shit. This is getting uploaded to the internet right now. Yeah?
And we are 2 law-abiding citizens that we are getting targeted, and I don't know why.
Just 24 hours later, Bernardes Ruiz played a leading role in the police killing of unarmed Tyrone West. Case number 3, the murder of Tyrone West, July 18th, 2013.
My brother Tyrone West was brutally murdered on July the 18th, 2013.
In both of these cases, when you look at the pleadings and the harsh language of these officers that have been quoted to me by reliable witnesses, the N-word.
And Killer Ruiz and Killer Chapman and the rest of those 11 to 15 killers, including David Lewis, took something from my family that they can never give us again. And that was my brother Tyrone West, one unarmed man who was brutally murdered, beat to death in broad daylight.
Mic check.
Mic check.
Mic check.
Mic check.
Awesome. So I'm glad everybody is tuned in tonight. And I apologize because I still don't have my voice back. And I do not like my voice right now. But anyway, moving on to brighter things. I'm so excited. This is like really the first time that I'm really, really excited about having a guest. Because even though I'd be excited about all our guests, but because it's like when I introduce y'all to a guest, like last week we had Sonia Massey's dad, Mr. James, on. And even though I was excited about having him on to, let him advocate to y'all about, the victory of him, at least securing some charges, even though in that case, I believe, and we all believe that it should have been first-degree murder, period. But just him making like history in general, it's amazing. But tonight, I'm so honored because this victim, to me, is like my hero. And, it's just sad, like I said, when I introduce other victims, it's like I'm introducing you a victim that did not sign up for this club of, fighting for the injustices and all that. So when I have someone on here that literally is like doing stuff for us, and to make sure that we're okay and to get our voices heard on a higher platform, it's really honest me tonight, literally, to have my beautiful guests on there. Y'all know just last weekend was real busy for me. Like, first of all, it was like really a real emotional week for me because it was like I just lost my little cousin, May, rest in peace, Tyree Brooks, rest in peace. So that was so traumatizing and devastating. And literally Friday, I had to go to my little cousin's funeral, and that was really heartbreaking. And I'm still praying for my family. And it's just devastating. But literally after that, my bestie had took me because I was supposed to go and see the documentary at the film festival, the Blue Wall, breaking down the Blue Wall of South. I was supposed to see it, on Sunday, which I did go, but I was honored to be able to go both nights, Friday and on Sunday, and it was amazing. And the fact that, not only did I get to go there, but just the guest that I have tonight has been, like, I've been knowing her for the past almost going on 6 years now. And when she reached out to me, it was just, to cover the Officer Bill of Rights. And this is something that the officers will protect and, under. And it's just sad that we had to go through such, because I remember when my brother was murdered, Tyrone West, and, we had like literally like when police officers murder someone, they don't get investigated. I mean, they get interrogated. They get an interview. And then at that time when my brother was murdered in 2013, literally the Officer Bill of Rights allowed these officers to come down with their attorneys, suited up with attorneys within 10 days. So meanwhile, in 10 days, my family had to bury my brother. We're going through how we buried him without a death certificate. We went through all types of stuff. So immediately, we just kept on saying, we need to get rid of and I used to call it, and I still call it the officer killer rights, because it allows them to kill with full immunity. While they give us havoc in our community, they get immunity for doing such. It is horrible. go through the type of pain and trauma. So when Miss Alicia came and reached out to me and said she was doing a documentary film, a short documentary film, and this was like when the pandemic was happening, so much was happening, because when I met this beautiful queen, we both had our face masks on and all this kind of stuff, and she came out, and I'm talking about literally like week after week, spending time with me at different West Wednesdays, filming us and listening. And then not only that, she got involved with the People's Champ, GOP Carter, and that was a fight in Annapolis for us. And like it was just like we were the force to reckon with. And for her to like do a documentary and put us all together and just show the worst one thing when you tell people something, but when you see it on a big screen and you get to sit down and have a calm mind and you really see it. And literally with her, and I don't want, because we plan on having big plans on this film, because it's amazing and the whole world needs to see this, and it's like real educational, and we really need to share it with everybody. So if you missed the film festival, and I had so many, I literally had over 55 people, and that was count. I stopped counting at the 55 to say, oh my goodness, I'm so sorry I didn't make it. They had other plans, and like, please tell me when we're gonna be able to see it. So no further ado, I'm going to introduce to y'all the beautiful queen herself, and I'm going to let her take it from here. Thank you so much for coming out tonight. Mic check.
Mic check.
Mic check.
Thank you, Tawanda. Can you guys hear me okay?
Yes.
Yes. Good. Thank you for that beautiful introduction. So I'll talk a little bit about the project. I mean, Tawanda described it pretty well, but my name's Alyssa. I teach at Morgan State. I'm a journalist, and I worked in television news for a bunch of years, in network news and then in cable news. And when I was in cable news, I got opportunities to do these hour-long documentary projects. So I did one about the juvenile justice system, and I did one about voting rights. So I've always been interested in more investigative, kind of in-depth projects rather than kind of news coverage. That's always been my interest. And then more, kind of looking at issues of injustice, and especially how government can fail communities, frankly. A lot of the projects I've worked on have kind of revolved around that topic. And so I'll talk a little bit about how this project started and how I got in touch with Tawanda and Jill. But what the film looks into is, like Tawanda was saying, the Law Enforcement Officer Bill of Rights, which is a law that was set up in Maryland in 1974. It was pushed through by the brand new police union movement here in Baltimore City that was just starting to organize in 1974. That same year that they pushed through this law, they even had a big citywide strike. So police unions were gaining power back, 50 years ago. They pushed through this legislation that would put into state law special protections for them when they were being investigated for something like things like misconduct, anything that could have job consequences for them. So this law has existed here in Maryland, existed here in Maryland for 50 years. After it passed in Maryland, it was kind of exported to 20 other states in the country. So we have similar laws on the books in a lot of other states. And where I caught this story was in 2020. I was interested in it because I got a journalism fellowship to do a project here in Baltimore City. When I applied for this fellowship, which gave me a lot of the money to start shooting it back in 2020, what I pitched to them was, let's look at what happens after a major uprising. Baltimore City, as you all know, went through this huge uprising in 2015 after the murder of Freddie Gray. And I wanted to see, well, what kinds of changes have been made since then, 5 years later. And I thought it was a good question to ask, because in 2020, we were seeing similar uprisings, as everyone on this video knows, are in cities all over the country, right? In Minneapolis, and then New York, LA, everywhere. So when I started researching and calling people, trying to figure out, okay, what's the story to tell here about what happened or didn't happen in Baltimore? A lot of people that I talked to said, one thing you should look into is this law. Because even though we were under this consent decree, which we're still under, this state law was not touched by any of those reform efforts. And in fact, even though there had been efforts for a bunch of years to really change it, they hadn't been successful. And so I found that story. I thought it was interesting, but I knew pretty much right away that a story that's just about a law is going to be very boring and not connect to people if it's not about human beings. And so pretty soon I was connected with Tawanda Jones. I reached out to Jill Carter. Actually, also another part of the story, for those of you who have seen the film and for those of you who will see the film, another part of the story is also Michael Harrison, who was the police chief here, I think from 2017. No, I think 2019 to 2023. He was only here about 4 years, but he was brought in to try to reform the police department from New Orleans. And so I thought he was going to play a bigger role in the film as well, because there were three people who all kind of played a role in trying to change this law. In the end, for those of you who watch the movie or who have seen it or will see it, you'll see that Michael Harrison is absolutely in it, but it's really about Tawanda and Jill. So they're really the driving forces of the film, because I realized as I was shooting, they were the people who were out there doing this publicly and risking a lot every day. And their kind of tenacity and determination and engagement with the community and kind of fighting for their community and also their personal stories, both women who are motivated by their own losses, and by the huge, by the way that, by people in their families, actually, right? Tawanda motivated obviously by the death of her brother. And Jill, for those of you who watch the movies, very motivated by her own father, who she lost when she was very young. I thought that was just kind of beautiful. So the film follows the two of you, my two kind of main participants. We talk about the history of the law. We go back to 1974 and we kind of dissect, well, what was happening in the country that led to this kind of police unions gaining all this political power. We examine, all these things that happened along the way here in Maryland, from the death of Tyrone West to 2015, this first effort to try to amend the Law Enforcement Officer Bill of Rights that Jill and Tawanda were both deeply engaged in. Talk about what happened then, how it didn't really work. And then the film kind of coalesces in 2021, which was when there was this massive effort to try to repeal the law. So that's what the movie is about. Hopefully I didn't spoil it too much for people who haven't seen it, but it's still worth seeing. And yeah, I mean, it was definitely a labor of love. You can tell, obviously I'm talking about things that happened years ago. So it was a project that took 5 years to finish, partly because I had some life things that happened. So I had to put it on pause for a little while, but luckily I was able to come back to it and complete it. And yeah, I don't know if you guys have questions, if anyone has a question, or Tawanda, if you want me to talk about anything else specific.
No, so I know. So my only question is just like where else would you plan on like showing it at for like the people that missed it?
Yeah, absolutely. So where we're at. So this is my first time doing an independent documentary. So what that means is, oh, thank you. I got a good, thank you so much. I love this comment. I packed the greatest amount of info into a short that is riveting from start to finish. Thank you so much. Love that. Thank you. So, and yeah, it's a short, so it's only half an hour, by the way, guys. You don't have to sit through 90 minutes, which is good. I think you get a lot of info and a lot of emotional connection, I think, to the subject and to the protagonist, to the participants in the movie in a good short 27 minutes. So we just finished it in October, and we premiered at the Maryland Film Festival. So like Tawanda said, we had 2 screenings. The next steps are we applied to multiple other film festivals in different parts of the country. So hopefully we'll get into a few other, you apply and then, they select a certain number of films. So we're hoping that we can get into more film festivals in other parts of the country. I also teach at Morgan State. So I want to partner with a few other departments at Morgan outside of just journalism to sponsor a bigger screening at Morgan State and hopefully a panel if Tawanda and Jill and maybe another expert from the university from political science or something like that is interested in moderating it. I don't know. We'll see. So definitely a screening at Morgan State, probably at the start of the next semester. I have going to reach out to a few other institutions in the city to see if there are other, educational institutions, maybe museums, historical societies. I'm just going to do a lot of kind of outreach to different groups in the city to see if there's interest in screenings from other folks in the city as well. And then I told Tawanda that if she wants to at some point for a West Wednesday, we could do a screening as well, like in a somewhere. So we'll have to see. But that would be great. I know, for different West Wednesdays that I've filmed, right? With Tawanda, I filmed a bunch. She's done panels, you go to different locations. So I'm definitely open to that, to screen it so more people have access to it. And then in terms of broadcast, it will air on Maryland Public Television. So that's free and accessible. Everyone can watch it, but that's not going to happen until the spring, probably March or April. And then once it airs, it'll also be accessible on the PBS app, which is called the PBS Passport app. So
Nice.
Yeah, so it'll be streaming by then. So that's the plan, to do as many kind of public screenings, both locally and maybe in other parts of the country. I see a comment here that other states might repeal their law enforcement officer Bill of Rights. I had an idea to, at some point in the process, I was making this a longer film. At some point it was going to be a feature film, which is 90 minutes. In the end, I completed it as a short because it made more sense. But I did film actually in Rhode Island with some activists and state lawmakers there who wanted to push for not even a repeal. They were just pushing to amend some elements of their LEOBR back in 2023. And it didn't get anywhere. It completely failed. Like they couldn't even get it up for a House or for a floor vote. And I think it hasn't made progress there. So Maryland, what that showed me is that Maryland is ahead of the curve in terms of at least these kinds of reforms. And I think a lot of that, oh, thank you. Seeing all these nice, sweet comments. So I think that a lot of that, by the way, has to do with people like Tawanda, activists, actually a lot of people I interviewed for the film, Leaders of a Beautiful Struggle, ACLU, obviously people like Joe Carter, local lawmakers who are really committed. Like, I think that like coalition and the grassroots movements that have been built here through groups like the West Coalition over all these years were really instrumental, I think, in making like significant change in Maryland. And I think other states are still building that. But it would be cool to show it in, a place like Rhode Island if they want to watch it. Maybe it inspires people. But yeah, so it'll ultimately we'll do a bunch of screenings, and then come the springtime, it will be on Maryland Public Television, which is our PBS here, and it'll be streaming on the PBS app. So people should be able to access it at that point pretty easily.
I have a question. This is Uncle Bill.
Hi.
First, we have someone who usually reads aloud the comments and questions, because sometimes the person in your position who's speaking is coming through a phone and the print is too tiny to read it. So if you want to comment right away, that's fine. But if you want to wait, you'll hear them all read aloud at some point. But on the film, I really enjoyed the film. I thought you did a great job. And it's kind of celebratory in the end because there were some inroads made into the LEOBR. And I think it's important that we celebrate even little victories in this effort against police brutality. But on the other hand, I had the sense that at the end of the film, the tone was kind of, we've basically defeated LEOBR and police brutality is not going to be as much of an issue. And I don't think that's quite the reality. In fact, the police killings went up through the Biden years. There are more people killed per year now than there had been before. And so I just want to ask you why you chose to have that particular sort of, if I interpret it right, why you chose to have that tone at the end, because I think this struggle is got a long ways to go. We're not near the finish line yet.
Yeah.
Okay. Wait a minute, can I answer it a little bit for her?
Sure.
And just I know it was asked her, but in my opinion, with her doing it, it's still like, yeah, we got a whole long struggle, right? But the whole point in seeing some type of progress along the way is meaningful, because if we don't see stuff and people like her that are doing stuff, putting into play to make it that easy, that would be really destructive, on top of it being already a destructive system. You know, it's not like giving false hope or nothing like that, but it's just one of those things like every step of the way, everything that you do counts. You know what I mean? So, and then giving people hope that are hopeless. Because when a parent loses a child through police brutality, and even when a loved one, a family member, and this was my older brother, I lost hope in everything. Like, you couldn't tell me anything. But it wasn't until I hit that floor and a little voice inside of me said, there's work to be done. And unfortunately, you are a part of the process. And I rose up off of that floor. So I'll let her answer, but that's what I wanted to say for my part, even though it wasn't asked to me, but just in kind of, response to her question. But you can go ahead, sweetie.
Thank you, Twanda.
That's a hope. I appreciate hearing that perspective. And it was challenging navigating how to end it because, it was short, right? It was short. We only had 26 minutes, which is really short, to get in as much material that we were kind of weaving in and out, right? Like multiple characters, well, not characters, multiple people, multiple storylines, where I wanted you to get to know Tawanda. I wanted you to get to know Jill as much as you can with the amount of time that we had. I wanted you to understand the mechanics of this law. I wanted you to understand the origins of this law. I wanted you to understand the perspective from a police chief who had an interesting perspective, right? Like, he was pretty frank in how he felt like limited by the law. So yeah, there was a lot of exposition, I guess, and then character building, narrative arc that had to be kind of built through the piece. So the way it ends is we have this kind of dramatic moment that a lot of things are building towards, where it's 2021. And we, there's a lot of fear that no reform will be made. And this was fear that I heard from a lot of people that whole year I was filming. A lot of the filming was over 2020 to 2021. And then I kept shooting until 2023, like additional interviews and things I'd missed. And also I had to shoot more West Wednesdays because it was COVID. So I had to kind of backfill actually a lot of the West Wednesday footage. But yeah, it kind of ends in this moment of what's going to happen, because as we're following Jill's process, there was this, as the bill is moving out of the Judicial Proceedings Committee into the full state Senate floor, it's being really watered down. And this was the fear everybody expressed to me. I'm talking about Tawanda, Leaders for a Beautiful Struggle, ACLU, Jill, everybody that I was filming with, who I interviewed and was like checking up with. I was filming with Jill literally like every other week, right? I was like calling her anytime there was a hearing and trying to get there to Annapolis, even by myself, to like film something. So I would have scenes that I could show this process of this bill moving through this crazy legislative process, which, by the way, is really like hard to even grasp while you're in it. Like it was like a crazy civics lesson. Like the way that bills become laws is complicated as heck in the United States. So we end on this kind of moment of, is change going to finally be made or not? And there's we hear from Tawanda and her concern, right? And then what did happen was the LEOBR is the subject of the film, and the LEOBR was repealed. It was. So I can't make a movie that's about every single problem with the police because there's too much. Nobody could write a book about it. I can't even make a series about it. There's too many things, right? We know about issues with not just police brutality, but the way prosecutors work, the way the medical examiners work, right? It's a giant system where there's a lot of problems. So this was a very focused film that was looking at just this one kind of element that I thought was important. And I thought it was important because everyone was telling me it was important. You know, as a journalist, you're going in and you're gathering information, you're listening to people and you're listening to what they tell you. So when people kept telling me this is important, that's when I was like, this is what I should focus on. And also it's happening now. Like, let me film something that's happening, that's unfolding right now. So the film is not trying to encapsulate everything that is wrong with the system. That would not be possible, at least for me to do in 26 minutes, especially. But even if I had 90 or 3 hours, you know, it's too much. And so I do think there was a victory. I don't think it solves the problem of police brutality. In terms of what happens after the repeal of this bill and, you know, all the changes that happened, which are quite significant, actually, in terms of how police can be investigated. You know, they can't be investigated by their own police departments anymore. It's outside police officers. It's still police officers, but it is outside police officers. There's this, what are they like? Civilian charging committees, citizen charging committees. It built this whole kind of other mechanism. Whether or not that mechanism is successful, I didn't have time to delve into for this project. It would have just made it so long. You know, that's like an academic endeavor, or that's another journalist or somebody from the West Coalition to go into and dig into, like, did this reform work? But so the film was definitely trying to understand, like, what's going to happen with this one little tiny part of it. And so I think that the way that the end plays out to me is it shows this happened. And there is a celebratory moment for sure, you know, with Jill. But our last scene is with Tawanda doing a West Wednesday, and the last line of the whole movie is, "Let's meet again next week at the state's attorney's office, mic check," which to me shows that the fight continues.
Thank you.
Excuse me, and then also, like, with interpretations, like, everybody interpret things different, because I didn't get that impression. You know what I mean? I got the impression of hope. I got the impression, like, when she concluded, because I don't want to spoil it for the people that didn't see it, so I'm not going to talk too much about it.
I'm sorry. I've like described every single moment in the whole movie. I can't help it. I'm really sorry. I don't know.
You're fine. No, you didn't. You didn't do anything. You definitely didn't do that. But I just said, like, I just, like, don't want, like, when Bill was asking certain questions and then it started, you know, like, I don't want to take from it because it's too powerful. Like, I want everybody to, like, but what I got from it was definitely hope, and definitely, and I even got a new perspective. And I ain't gonna go on my new perspective, but I told everybody I got a whole nother level of respect for the commissioner, that, you know, Commissioner Harris, who left. So I'm not gonna get into it, but I see our voice has blown up. Do we have anybody to read the questions or the comments? Mic check.
Mic check. I think Kalia is here. Tawanda? Kalia, are you here still?
Oh, hey.
She was here earlier. Oh, Kalia's typing something. Just a minute. Her mic's not working.
Her mic's not working.
Hillary, you want to read them?
The problem is I can't see all of them.
Oh, let's see.
Wait, let me see if I can. Oh, yes, I can. I'll read them. I just figured out how to do it. And a few of these you responded to already. So we have a few mic checks from Super Cardio and saying he could hear everything. Bruce Emmerling said mic check in the beginning as well. AC Britt said, and I agree with this, Alyssa packed the greatest amount of info into a short that is riveting from start to finish. You did a great job, Alyssa. She also said that hopefully in states that also have the awful Leobor of their own, maybe it'll wake some people up. Super Cardio said, wow, showing it on MPT is amazing. AC Britt said, because the FOP is a mafia type organization, as you came to find out during your filming and research, I think commenting in response to some stuff you were saying, and that she didn't get the impression from the ending, that everything was fine. And and she also said, I believe that Commissioner Harrison ultimately left his job because of the FOP and headwinds and handcuffs that were put on him in addressing bad apples on the force. That was during the time when we were fighting for local control, and folks in our legislature sabotaged those efforts for years. I'm sure he was disgusted like we were. Daniel Hellerback says that, agreeing with something else, I guess. AC Britt says the antics by the legislature is probably why Jill is no longer a senator too. Then Daniel Hellerback says that's so true, although we see all of the things that empower the police to do harm and misconduct, we can only chip away at things one at a time. It takes a lot of fortitude to stay in the struggle. And I would agree with that. And I think it's good. And this was my comment I wanted to make. I really enjoyed the film. I thought there was a lot packed into it. And it was very intense, and I think it'll be good for other people to see. But I think the other thing is that people should come out of it with questions about what next and what's really working and what isn't. And we know that we don't have civilian review boards that have any teeth still. So even though the law is changed, there are other things in Baltimore that need to change so that we can use it. And so that people respond. But I think I sort of feel good when I leave a documentary like that with questions hanging, because that's kind of what you want. You want it to make people curious to learn more, right? So, and I guess my question for you is, what's your next project?
Oh, it's interesting. So this has taken a long time, and like I said, I've never done something where I had to like do it all on my own. I always worked for a company where they paid me for my time and gave me the money to do it. And then I had a deadline and I had to deliver it. So this was a whole other beast, because it's like grassroots. Like I had to raise the money to, from all these different fellowships, grants, all these things over time, to be able to make it. Because making anything on film costs money. I'm not good enough to do all of it by myself. I need collaborators. So at a certain point in this, I was like, I don't know if I can do it again, because it's been hard. It's been hard. Like I was, it's stressful. It's hard. You're like trying to raise the money. You get a million rejections, everybody does. And you're trying to be entrepreneurial, figure out, okay, where can I get money? I got, a lot of funding from OSI Baltimore, Open Society Institute Baltimore. They get, I got money from lots of interesting places, not just like documentary grants, because those are very difficult to get. So there was a time where I wasn't sure that I had the wherewithal to like push through another project. But interestingly, now seeing it actually out in the world, even though it's still just launching, it has this like longer life documentary. It has like months of screenings and festivals before it actually airs. Even just the beginning of that process has made me realize, like, even if I questioned at certain points, is this worth doing all this work just to create this thing? I now feel like it was worth it. But yeah, I have to find something. I've been so focused on this. I'm like, the other cool thing for me personally being at this film festival is I got to see a lot of other documentaries and movies. I got to meet a bunch of filmmakers who were there with their projects. So it's kind of a cool like celebration of everybody's work, and you can come out of it a little inspired because you're kind of toiling alone a lot of the time. You have people that you hire essentially to help you, but it's all kind of your responsibility to make it happen. And since I'm not a part of a network, I'm kind of I work at Morgan, I teach, but as far as my journalistic work or creative work, I'm kind of on my own doing it. So it was like very inspiring to be connected to people, to see other films, to hear that everyone's struggles are the same. We're all trying to like give birth to these projects that take a long time. So I definitely came out of that experience over the weekend. And especially, by the way, just hearing everybody's response to it, it makes me realize like this kind of work is worth doing. Like pushing through all the uncertainty if you'll be able to do it, all this like kind of heaviness of, can I do this? Can I do justice to Tawanda's story? Can I do justice to Jill's story? I felt a lot of responsibility that I had to do this well because they were trusting me with their stories. So I felt like if I'm having someone give me the level of access, allowing me to film with them for literally years and then kind of waiting on this product, I had to do a good job. I couldn't mess up. And so seeing everyone's responses, I think, has also helped me realize like there's value in this kind of work and in what I can do. When you're toiling in the dark for so many years, you're not sure. So that's a long question to what am I going to do next is I have no idea. But I do feel now like I can do it again and I'm inspired. And I have these themes. That run through all my work. And I'm like, this is what I do. I do like kind of stuff connected to justice and honestly, kind of the little guy fighting back. All my projects have kind of those themes. So something like along those lines. I don't know if it'll be police or criminal justice. I don't know. But if anyone has any good ideas. So long answer to your question, but I don't know.
Thank you. We're glad you want to do some more because it was really good.
Good. Yeah. No, I'm feeling good about it. I'm feeling inspired. So I just have to start reading and thinking again. That's usually what leads to some inspiration. So.
No, and I just want to personally thank you myself because having been on like many documentary platforms and then having wasted a lot of time with like certain people, like especially for people from out of town, from New York, that like come in and I dedicate all my time and let them into my personal space, my home, sometimes at my church and just doing things and we get all the way there and then it just like stopped. They dropped the ball and that's so disappointing. It's like to the point it make me don't even it almost kind of discourages me from wanting to even trust somebody with this stuff. But at the same time, I guess it's life. You got the ups and downs, but it's just sad when people waste your time, or they get black, or they have good intentions, but then somebody will run away because there's always trolls out there to come. Because like I done had people come on here that I interviewed about the medical examiner's office, and then sure enough, you'll have trolls like Bruce Goldfarb reach out to them. I call him the devil's advocate. He'll reach out to them and say, "Oh, well, you need to fact check him." And tell his little false lies and so I can imagine, the scrutiny that you might come up under just from like jumping out there and trusting us and because if we're getting retaliated on and all we doing is just telling our stories and just thinking about truth, I'm not churning up nothing. This is like 642 weeks of dedication, of determination, and then you still get, I gotta wake up to wondering if somebody gonna cut my tie or do some crazy stuff, and this is like at the point you get over it, but I'm never over this fight, and I'm in it for the long haul. And it's just sad. But I just wanted to really just personally thank you so much. And then when you had your not little, but when you went through your heartbreaking thing that you went through, or whatever the case may have been, you still pulled it, and that's determination. You should look at yourself every morning and say, I did it. Like, you really did an amazing job. Like, I'm so proud of you, and not just me. Like, everybody is so proud of you. Like, I'm quite sure your circle is like your family, your loved ones, but you really did it. Like, sometimes you be pouring into everybody that you don't pour into yourself. Like, I'm giving you your flowers now. Like, you did an amazing job. Like, oh my God, like that 30 minutes was nothing but knowledge. So if you haven't seen it, trust me, guys, when it come here, when we set it up or however, and when she sets it up, I'm definitely gonna let y'all know because it's worth seeing. That's why I got out there Friday, got out there Thursday. We would have had the whole entire weekend. I would have been out there, like, and it was like had to be there, like, in 2 minutes. That's why I was truly dedicated to it because my baby had our first showcasing for our cheerleading thing, and I'm like, I'm sorry, baby, I love you. You know I love you. Mommy's rooting for you. I said, but I definitely, had and it taught her a lesson too, because she's like supporting me from a distance. I'm supporting her, so it's all good. So, but I want you to give your own self flowers. You gotta know what you did was like amazing. And to be honest, it looked like, oh my God, like you had like somebody else working with you because all that stuff. I'm like, wow, did she really do like literally pull all this up in the way it was? And like, oh my God, like you missed no detail. Like that was one of the things, documentaries that you couldn't even, if you wanted to look down at your phone for a second, you wouldn't. You're like so glued to the monitor, like the screen. Like it was amazing. I can't wait for everybody else to see it because I know they're going to get that out of it. Like, and me seeing it, like, that was my third time seeing it, but I could see it over and over and over again. I was like, wow. So I just wanted to thank you personally. And I want to check in and see if we got any more questions or comments, or if anything else you want to share before we go to the questions or comments.
I guess one last thing. I mean, DeWanda, like as soon as we can get a West Wednesday screening, let's do it. I'm happy to provide, we'll use the same file that we use for the film festival. So, if you guys
I'll be working on that now. I'm gonna tell you, I'm gonna be working on that now.
Yeah, I would love to do that.
I want everybody to see it.
Yeah, exactly. And we could ask Jill if she, if she could come too. Like, so I'm happy for you guys for West Coalition. Like, whenever you guys are ready to do a screening, like I'm there, and then I'm definitely gonna get it at Morgan. Hopefully, a few other places. So hopefully, there will be a lot of opportunities to see it on a screen in person before it goes on streaming and everything.
No, I appreciate it. And I just appreciate you just for like giving back. Like all your time is so important. And for you, like I said, to make that excellent film and put out not just like you really gave our faces like the spark, the glow, like so people that don't know us really get to know and see. And it was just like so amazing. So I just want, like I said, again, thank you. Then for you sharing your time tonight on West Wednesday, and then for you being so open and transparent and like, oh, let's just keep it going. I'm just like over here, like I'm over here so happy right now. You just like made my whole night. Thank you so much.
Oh,
thank you.
Thank you. You made my night too. So thank you.
All right, so we can check in to see if we can read the questions and comments again.
We just have a few, mic check. We just have a few more. AC Britt said, again, Jill Carter was the reason we had a CRB in the first place, although we all know that's in a different iteration at this point that we all need to watch. She also said that that's an admirable theme to your work in films. And then Super Cardio said, that sounds relatable. Responding to you toiling away by yourself is pretty common in this. And I think we all agree. AC Britt says same. And that was when you were talking about showing the film, and we'll all support you in doing that. So thank you. And that's it. Mic check.
I have one more question. I'm wondering if you've had a chance to show it to your students at Morgan, and if that happened, what the response was.
Yes, I have. So not to the broader community, but I'm teaching 3 classes this semester. So I showed it to 2 out of 3 of my classes. And they loved it. I mean, they loved we talked a little bit about the storytelling. I think they were interested in some storytelling type questions, but mostly, a lot of them were like, I didn't know about this. You know, I didn't know about the West Coalition. I didn't know about West Wednesday. There was one student who was like, was watching the scenes, commented on the scenes that we captured with at some of the West Wednesdays, the one at City Hall, some of the bigger ones that were scenes in the film, who said, like, I can't believe I don't know this is happening in my city. So that was really interesting. A lot of them wrote down like West Coalition. They wrote down Joe Carter's name. There was one student who's a poli-sci major in one of my classes. I teach communications, but there's one class that's like open to all students. And she was just really moved by the work, especially the organizing and the grassroots organizing, activism, and like political work, because she's a poli-sci major and, this is what she's interested in. So she was like very, very moved by the work. She said she even like was brought to tears seeing kind of like Jill and Tawanda's, just like their level of commitment. So yeah, they really, really, really positive response just from the students in my class who I showed it to. And it's cool because they're the future, right? They're 20, 21, 22. And yeah, they were very, very moved.
Thank you.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Thanks for sharing that. Thank you. And that was a good question, Uncle Bill.
Yeah.
But do anybody else have any questions or comments for our beautiful guest tonight? Mic check.
Mic check.
Mic check.
Awesome. Okay, well, I'm not going to hold you too much longer, my queen, because this is the segment where we get into like, before we wrap up, we start reading off our sad list, which we really don't have any tonight, but we do have some like tweaks or tricks towards the sad list that we wanted to share for the community violence, but we don't have a police brutality list. But again, I want to thank you so much for your time, your dedication, and just everything, the love. Like, it shows, like, I just feel like in life, like, things happen for a reason, and like what you're doing is definitely something that needs to be done, and and it's not in vain. Like, someone will learn from this and people will see, and it's something that we definitely need to just always have our truths told and put out there, especially with things that are happening now where it seems like they're trying to erase our history right now. Like, literally, like, I done had people that been involved with West Wednesday and the FOP reach out and throw their hand in it and tell them, oh, well, you can't show the films no more because it has Baltimore City police officers in there. And I'm like, what kind of foolishness is that? And a rap song that I made up in dedication with a video for my brother, I can't even see it or access it. I can't even see any of the early West Wednesday days before we even got on like this type of platform. I can't see none of it. It's just sad and disgusting, but that's what the legal lie gang does. The FOP is a legal lie gang, and I said it. And this is not nobody from the West Coalition. It's not my guest. This is the Wanda Jones' opinion and how I feel. And it's just sad the stuff you go through. But again, I just want to thank you so much, and I can't wait to connect with you again.
Thank you.
We have one more question that came in digitally. And you've partly touched on it, but perhaps you'd like to say a little more. The question is, and it's from Super Cardio, what was the primary inspiration for creating this documentary?
So honestly, it really came from an opportunity for a journalism fellowship that I came across in 2020, where I decided I wanted to try to create my own work, because at that point I had a job where I was like working as an editor and kind of a program manager, working with other reporters who were launching their own stories, which I enjoyed, but I hadn't really done my own stories in a few years at that point. And somebody told me about this fellowship at the University of Michigan called the Knight Wallace Reporting Fellowship, where they were looking to grant, they had like 10 grants, 10 spots for fellows for the 2020-21 academic year, where we could do stories in our communities. Because of COVID, the university was closed, so they were providing funding and support for journalists working on stories in their communities. So that was kind of the impetus for me to start researching a topic. And I've done criminal justice stories, nothing about policing before, but I've done projects around the juvenile justice system. So yeah, and I was just essentially what inspired me, I guess, was this question of, after there's a big uprising, so it was 2020, there was obviously the murder of George Floyd and everything that was happening around the country in response to his murder. My question was kind of like, what happens after? Like, what changes? Everyone's calling for reform. How does reform actually play out? What happens next? So that was kind of the primary inspiration, I guess, was trying to understand that question. And that led me to then the LEOBR and these people who are trying to change it, right, from all these different angles. From the outside, Tawanda as a community activist; from the inside, Jill as a lawmaker. Yeah, so I would say that's probably the answer.
Awesome.
Super Cardio, who asked the question, just said thank you.
You're welcome.
And again, Alyssa, I just want to thank you again. Keep up the amazing work. And we definitely, truly will be in touch. And I just can't wait to have that West Wednesday where I bring people in. So guys that are listening now, we will be doing a upcoming West Wednesday, and I will keep you posted. And there, you guys will be able to see the amazing short film that our beautiful queen did. Like, it's amazing. Y'all gonna be blown away. Y'all gonna think that like she been doing this, like this is like an everyday event. Like, yeah, like, oh my goodness, it's like, especially like in the area in which she said this is her first time doing that. I would have really thought like, oh my goodness, you wouldn't have been able to convince me that this is her first time, but you are amazing. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm excited to show it. So yeah, we'll definitely get working on that.
Awesome. Well, I won't hold you up any longer. So thank you so much, and we appreciate you. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone, for listening and being interested, and for your wonderful comments and questions. And for those of you who haven't seen the movie, I'm sorry if I said too much. I realize I just talked about it like as if everyone's seen it. So I hope that was okay. I hope I don't ruin it for you.
Oh no, you didn't ruin it for nobody. I trust you then. I think if anything, you made everybody even more curious. So like, oh, I gotta see it. We can't wait.
Okay.
So thank you again.
Thank you.
Definitely appreciate you. Thank you.
Thank you, Wanda.
Awesome. All righty. So again, I'm so excited, and I will keep you guys posted for our upcoming West Wednesday, where we will have a panel discussion and we will show you the very amazing documentary. So I'm so glad. So again, let's just give our queen thanks for just being here, and that all the work that she has done and put in her dedication time. Like, she really did that, and it was definitely needed, and I'm just so glad. So thank you again, my queen.
Thank you. Thank you.
Awesome. So before I go to the sad list, I have another announcement that I want to make. I want to just keep you guys informed that this weekend, I told you I would be in another documentary, and it's for the Baltimore Beat. The Beat Goes On. We're going to be at the same place at the film festival. I'm sorry, where the film festival was, at Parkway. And it's going to be at 7 o'clock this Saturday. So if you haven't gotten your tickets yet, please get your tickets. They're free. They're available online. I'll again share the link. So I hope to see as many people as possible this Saturday, 7 p.m. at Parkway. So I'm excited again. And yeah, And then also next Thursday, mark your calendars, I'm going to be at Red Emma's and I'm going to be on a panel discussion. And I'll share more details about that on next West Wednesday. I'll bring that information to you about the Red Emma event that I'm going to be at on next Thursday. And I'm hoping that I'll see you guys at this at Red Emma's as well on next Thursday. So before we go into the sad list, I wanted to ask again, do anybody have any more final questions, comments, or thoughts before I say our statement, and then we can just move on. Mic check.
Mic check.
Mic check.
Awesome. Well, it seems like all hearts and minds are clear. So again, just want to thank everybody for tuning in tonight. Thanks for our amazing queen for all the hard dedication and work that she put into this film. Also want to give a big shout out to Baltimore Beat for their amazing documentary that is going to be shown this weekend, coming up this upcoming weekend on this Saturday, guys, at 7 p.m. So I'll see you guys. But this is a part of the segment that I don't like when we have to talk about, you know, a sad list. And the saddest thing was the last time when we read the sad list, the community violence list, when I heard my cousin's name, Tyree Brooks, 22, and it broke my heart. Like, it breaks my heart all the time when we say a victim name, but the pain hits differently when it's your loved one's name. It's just so sad. That's why I said, live to love to live, and I love you all. We have to live for the moment. And this is the part I don't like, even though I told you guys we don't have just last week I think we read over 30, like 4 names or more. It might have been 36, but that is disgusting. You know, but we do this not to exploit anybody, but just to highlight the victims' names and to say that we know that they are a victim, even though we don't have no information or details about anyone involved in the situation at hand. But we just know that, and like I said, and it's not the West Coalition, this is me, I don't believe that no one deserves to be brutally murdered. You know, that's why I say live to love to live, but nobody deserves to be brutally murdered. Because at the end of the day, you know, murder is not someone being sick and they die, and that's even hard. Death is hard to accept on any level, you know? But when someone is murdered, it's heartbreaking. And I have a friend now that is going through something on Facebook, and every time I go on, that his son not too long ago was murdered. And every time I go on, and when I see him, you know, it's close, and he's just saying he want to trade places with his son. It takes you like on a whole nother level. And then he's saying videos that his son made. His son was an upcoming rap artist, made beautiful music. And the day that his son get murdered, his album was released. It's like that kind of stuff in life. Nobody's family is ready for it. Nobody ever ready to accept death, especially when your loved one is murdered. It is so heartbreaking and devastating because literally your life changes at that instant when you hear the news. So again, we don't have a police brutality list, but we have a community violence list, but it's kind of weird, but I'll let my brother Brian explain that. But again, we have no details surrounding any information about what happened or who, you know, why it happened or none of that. We just get our information from a local level and a local media and an international media where we get the police brutality list from. So my whole point is we don't know anything, no type of details, but all we know is someone was murdered. And at the end of the day, we believe in mediation because if you could sit down and you could talk about the situation, then guess what? Both parties can walk away, or all parties can walk away. But when violence happens, there's no turning back. And it's just sad. And then now the times we live in, with these courthouses and being rigged up from the judges to the prosecutors to everybody's in the bed with each other. disgusting. It's just, we're really in sad times. But again, we have no details about anyone involved in the situation. And like I said, next week, unfortunately, we probably will have a sad list of the police brutality victims, and we'll give you more details about the list tonight. But we're gonna just take 1 minute, guys, 1 minute. The time now is 8:06, and we'll be back at 8:07. And if I'm a little bit off, we'll be back at 8:08. So, mic check.
Mic check.
Mic check.
Thank y'all. The time now is 8:07. Brother Brian, it's all yours. Mic check.
Mic check. Thank you, Tawanda. So tonight we do have a list, but there have been some homicides in Baltimore. Unfortunately, the police have not released the names of any of those homicides. And rather than rather than just wait until the police get around to whatever it is that is, whatever it is they're doing, what we're going to do tonight is just say the date and the block on which the killing happened. And normally we would have you echo back their names, say their names of the people who had passed. But since that's not going to be possible, I just ask you to, after each name, echo back rest in peace or rest in power, whatever seems appropriate to you. Just in recognition of these people's humanity, in recognition of the costs to their loved ones and their community, and in recognition of our need to keep struggling and keep fighting back against the system that kills so many people. So there are 7 names, or there are 7 victims. The first happened on November 28th in the 300 block of North Conklin Street.
Rest in power.
In peace.
Rest in power.
Rest in power.
The second happened on November 2nd in the 300 block of West Lexington Street.
Rest in power.
Rest in power.
Rest in power.
Rest in power.
The third happened on November 4th in the 1500 block of East Lamvale Street.
Rest in power.
Rest in power.
The next happened on November 5th on the 200 block of North Mount Street.
Rest in power
Rest
again.
in power.
Rest in power.
The next also happened on the 5th in the 4200 block of North Rogers Avenue.
Rest in power.
Rest in power.
The next happened on the 7th of November in the 3100 block of North Avenue.
Rest in power.
Our last victim on the 11th of this month in the 2900 block of Rookett Avenue.
Rest in power.
Rest in power.
Thank you.
Thank you,
check.
Brother Brian. Mic check. So again, a big special shout out to our queen for her amazing time, her amazing work. We just give you so much honors. We're giving you your flowers right now. Thank you so much. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And remember, guys, live to love to live. And what I always say, we're more than hashtags and body bags. We're more than being pictures on a t-shirt. Our lives matter. It may not matter to the ones that murder us or kill us, but it matters to the folks that you leave behind grieving. And I always say, live to love to live. I love you all. And I'll say it again because I kind of messed up. We're more than hashtags and body bags. We're more than being 6 feet in the dirt and pictures and buttons on t-shirts. Our lives matter. Cell blocks for killer cops. And also cell blocks for cops that want to ride people over for no reason. And I just want that young man, the one that keeps on, giving his time and dedication to these media platforms that will step away and watch him get, I don't even want to say it, but young man, please be careful. That's the young man, that video, because finally they got, charges. Not only was the officer fired that tried to run the young man over in West Baltimore, but he's now being charged. But then for the media to keep putting this young man up there with no type of protection or none of that. And I don't want to hear no foolishness. God forbid something happened. I don't want to hear what they said when the person that was standing on the front line for Freddie Gray, the activist that I did a lot of stuff with and worked with on the streets, and all he kept on doing was fighting peacefully for accountability for Freddie Gray. And he was actually murdered on Freddie Gray's one of his anniversary commemorations. He was actually murdered, and they try to say it was from road rage. This is what they do. And if you think I'm lying, look at all the people that they murdered in Ferguson.
That's right.
I think, I should do a documentary about that, how they retaliate towards activists that stand on the front line. They always come back, and they come back in full force. It's disgusting. It's heartbreaking, and you can't make this stuff up. Like when the uprising happened with Michael Brown, all of the front fighters were found burned alive in their car. Not burned alive, but burned to death in their cars, like murdered, shot to death and burned up in their vehicles. And one of them was a lynch, and and it was crazy because, and I wish I had their names right now, but one of the mothers that pulled on the front behind, they found her son hanging in a tree in her backyard. Like lynched. It's because she was out there fighting. But all the men that fought and stood up on the front line in Ferguson, all of them were found down in burned up vehicles, murdered. And nobody's talking about that. It blows my mind, the stuff that we miss and that we don't talk about. It's sad. And then, like I said, the activists here, me and him did die-ins and all that together. And he literally was killed on Freddie Gray's commemoration. They try to say it was road rage, that he supposedly had cut somebody off with a motorcycle, and the person got out to check on them to see if the person was okay, and he was shot down. They still ain't catch the person. We know what happened to Detective Shooter. We know we're not silly. We're not silly rabbits over here. So again, just praying, because retaliation is real. So live to love to live. I love you all. And I will see you guys on this Saturday. And also, we'll see you guys next West Wednesday. Mic check.
Mic check.
Mic check.
And Mr. West begging for his life. And Mr. Salam begging for his child to be excluded and comforted from what was taking place. Not for himself, but for his 3-year-old child.
Case number 4, Adina Britt and family, September 10th, 2015.
My name is Adina Britt, and I wanted to submit a 30-second testimonial that Jorge Omar Bernardez Ruiz is one of the 11 terrorists that came into my house performing a home invasion in September 2015, terrorizing my entire family and even holding my 12-year-old son at gunpoint. He needs to be stopped.
Case number 5. Unidentified arrestee, assaulted in 2016.
I suggest you back the fuck up. No, why you
Again, this video did not surface until the summer of 2020. Case 6, Thomas McCullough, May 2016 and February 2017.
I heard my front door coming off the hinges like it exploded.
Thomas McCullough says it happened twice. In May 2016 and February 2017, Baltimore City Police burst through his green front door and raided his Pimlico home.
They said, police. They come up, shotguns, guns.
He says officers ransacked the place, looking for drugs, money, and weapons. He took pictures of the damage he says they left behind.
Tell us where the drugs are, the scales, the guns, and the large amounts of money.
Nothing was found. Now he's suing police, claiming officers, including a former member of the gun trace task force, frightened him, his wife, and father-in-law when the officers conducted what his suit calls an illegal search of his home. The owner of the house tells 11 News after the second raid, he had to replace the front door. McCullough and his attorney say they want Baltimore police held accountable.
There is a colossal breach of trust.
And McCullough tells us following both raids, no one was arrested or charged.
This all begs the question, when will Baltimore City State's attorney see the prosecution of Bernardez Ruiz as warranted?
They were the stopping officers in these so-called jump-out cars, unmarked and so forth, that stopped both the West vehicle and the Salam vehicle without probable cause. And these officers are the ones that also were joined by others, but they are the ones who initiated the stops, pulled both men out of the vehicles, and commenced the vicious activity that was thrust upon them.
And the officer Ruiz that started this attack is still working and working with promotions. He is now sergeant. But the fact that this repeat violent offender had a history leading up to my brother. There was Darrell Harris, there was James Green, Joseph Green, Abdul Salam. No one family deserves to be brutally murdered or brutalized by this repeat violent offender Ruiz. It is time we take action. The time is now.
Baltimore police officer Jorge Bernardez Ruiz is a repeat violent offender. Based on these accounts, in accordance with the law, we, the West Coalition, call for him to be fired, prosecuted, and incarcerated.
We're more than hashtags and body bags. We're more than being 6 feet in the dirt and pictures and buttons on t-shirts. Our lives matter.
For the safety of our city, the prevention of further harm, and the justice for these families, we see no other option.
And again, I'll say, the time is now.